Hi guys, it's JJ. I told you guys a little while ago that I was going to start making a video series of how to do a wire tree on a hoop. So that's what we're going to do today. Today is going to be part one. Part one is going to go over all the materials that you're going to need and how to measure out your wire. So I'm going to show you that now. Let's get started. So this is a 12-inch hoop that I got from Michaels. I got this from the floral section of Michaels. This is another one. You can see the color's a little bit different. This is a 14-inch hoop. So by the end of the videos, I'm not going to have any of the silver showing at all. So if you get a hoop that looks kind of, this is a little bit more dingy looking, it really doesn't matter because it's not going to show. Okay, just make sure when you're picking out your hoops that they're not open anywhere on the hoop, because you don't want your wire to slip off, because that would be a pain. So for this tutorial, we're going to use this one. Okay, and the next thing you're going to do is grab yourself some Benny Create or whatever wire you use. This is just 20 gauge wire. It comes in a bunch of different colors. Benny Create is the one that I always use for really everything. When I open it up, I poke holes in both the top and the bottom, and then it helps me measure out my wire a little bit better. Okay, so just make sure that it's, popped open. The next thing I'm going to need are my heavy duty wire cutters. These come in really handy when you're cutting the wire after you measure it. The next thing is 2 big clamps. This is what I use to measure out my wire. When I'm measuring my wire, I do a little bit more than twice as big as the hoop. So if the hoop's 12 inches, I'm probably going to measure out like 28 inches of wire. Okay. The next thing you're going to need is masking tape. And masking tape is going to be used after you measure out all your wire to tape up the top of the tree, which we'll work on later. The very first thing that I usually do is work on the roots. So part 2 of this video series is just going to be on the roots. So that's everything you need. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take these clamps and we're going to put them on my desk. I'm going to show you how to do that. I have the ends sticking up. Sometimes I put like little rubber things over the top so I don't cut myself, but it's your own preference. So again, I measure these about 28 inches apart and just clamp them to my table. Next thing I do is I'm going to take my wire. I'm going to take this part and just wrap it around once, just like that, on one clamp. And then I'm going to start going around. This tree is going to have 150 wires, so I'm going to go around my clamps 75 times. So just to show you, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4. That's 4. 5. So I'm going to go around it 75 more times. I'm going to hyperlapse that so you can see it really, really quick, and then we'll come to the next step. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, now I have, I went around this 175 times, so I decided to do 150 pieces of wire instead of 200. So I'm going to take my 150 off my clamps, put it down, get rid of my clamps, those away so they're not in my space. And the next thing I'm going to do is go in the middle of my wires, and I'm going to cut this end in half and cut this end in half using my heavy duty wire cutters here. So I'm going to go through, cut that, and cut that. Make sure you go through all of them. Okay, and now I got my finger in between them like that, so I'm just going to go to the other side, and I'm going to cut the other side too. Okay, so this is my other side. Just going to cut through all of that so you can see it okay. Cut through all that. Take takes a little bit of arm strength. A little tricky trying to get it all on camera here, but okay. Cut through, cut through. If you don't have big, fat, heavy-duty cutters like these, wire cutters, that's okay. I do recommend that you get some if you don't have them. You can use, you know, your regular smaller cutters, but it's just going to take a lot longer. Okay. You can cut that piece off. Okay. So now I have 150 wires. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the end. Trying to get it in the camera here. I'm going to go to the end and try to match these up just as much as I can. It's not that big of a deal because I'm going to cut this whole end off. Okay. So I like to try to make sure all my wires are going the right way still, even during this process, because when I twist, I want it to twist nice and smooth. Okay, so I'm going to start cutting here. It's going to take a minute because it's a lot of wires. So we're going to cut all these ends off, and the reason why is because this is going to be the root end, and this is going to be the first part we start working with. Okay, so this is my end. Yeah, one right there, I'll just cut that one off. Okay, so we've got all these cut off down here. I'm going to leave the ones up here, and I'll show you why in just a minute. It's much messier up here. So the next thing I'm going to do, match them all up as best you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then we're going to go to the middle of our bunch of wire, and I'm just going to twist from here. Now, if you can see, everything's kind of going the same way. I like it doing that because it just makes for a much smoother tree. So now I'm going to grip it, and I'm going to twist the middle. Okay. Twist it just like that. Okay. You can see again, it's all kind of going the same way. Okay. Now, we'll put that down, get rid of all of our little wire scraps here. And throw those away. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is, I'm not going to touch up here for a little while. This is going to be, those are going to be the branches at the top of the tree and where the leaves go and all that. So I'm going to leave this alone for a while, but I'm going to be doing a lot of work down here. And because I'm going to be doing a lot of work down here, I don't want to lose the shape of my tree, get it messed up, because these will snag on everything. You can cut them off, but it's still going to snag. I don't even bother. Not at this point. So the first thing I do is I'm going to take a bunch of painter's tape. And I'm going to cover up the top of my tree with painter's tape. It does not have to be perfect. Just cover it up so it doesn't get snagged. Okay. So you can see I'm literally just going over it, covering it up, and then just mushing it on. Just like that, okay? And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some... Okay, sorry about that, technical problems. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some painter's tape and put it right here. Just wrap up the rest of my trunk. And that is the upper part of my tree. And that just protects the entire tree while I'm working on the roots. So I'm going to go down like that and then just tape it up like that. Okay, so then, right now this is kind of what it looks like. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, or the next part of the video, is going to be working on the roots. So right now we've got kind of our trunk, and we're going to reshape it as we go along, and then we're going to work on our roots, and then we'll work on the rest of the tree and the flowers. So that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks, guys. Bye.